tech. You're watching The Tech. This week's episode brought to you by extremely hot tea. With homemade tea bags. I gotta get this tea bag out of there before it makes the tea spoil. What's going on, Wendell?
Something's on fire, and I don't know what. Oh, wait, we're going to find out.
Yeah, we are going to find out. There's a lot of things on fire this week. You just sent me this article over here, this video of Steve Jobs. This is kind of funny. We'll start off with this, shall we? Steve Jobs, his iPhone presentation killed one of the Apple patents in Germany. So go
this
ahead
is
and
just a bit of Apple Schadenfreude. That's all. Just a bit of Apple Schadenfreude. So they filed for a patent, I guess, and they won a patent in the EU, but it was found invalid because Steve Jobs demoed it 6 months before they actually filed for a patent, which is a no-no in the EU, but in America it's okay for up to a year. Like, you can make something public for a year and then you can file for a patent, but in the EU that's not okay.
Yeah. So there's that. It was funny because he said, boy, have we patented this? And he was the person who signed on, as the inventor. Game deals. There's a lot of game deals. Guys, our Kill Your Console video is online right now, so check that out. And if you're coming over to the PC, always be sure to go to techsyndicate.com/game deals. There's lots of cool things there. So, and that's what we're brought to you by this week, not the tea bags. We're brought to you by our own damn game deals. Also, if you are new to PC, like Plexus1241 here on the forum, he did the right thing. He came to the forum and said, hey, new Steam account, and I feel kind of lonely. So just come over and, tell us your Steam name and let us know what type of games you'd like to play. Like if your favorite game is the My Little Pony MMO, well, you can hook up with other My Little Pony enthusiasts on some other website, probably not ours. I realized what I was saying there about halfway through. I was like, no, you guys cannot do this. It's probably not going to happen.
I'm afraid it's already too late.
Now our website has pretty much become a new My Little Pony hub, and I've done it by saying it right now. If you're a My Little Pony fan, share this with all your friends, and once they're all watching, I'm gonna get you guys and put you on a rocket ship to explore the sun. Someone's got to do it. I mean, hey, why not My Little Pony fans? You guys can all explore the sun. It's bright. Okay. Yeah. Popular Science, the website, they're getting rid of the comment system, which is kind of strange for a scientific website because I thought science was all about, like allowing people to have a voice and things. The big problem here is that they were, overrun by trolls, overrun by people who are arguing about evolution and climate change, people who are arguing about religion. It just always turned into that in the comments. So they've decided, after much discussion and debate, that they are going to get rid of comments. Everyone's trying to make the comments better, and even Google is now with YouTube. They are integrating Google Plus, and they're trying to create a new system. So I'm just telling you guys all this, so if you start noticing things are a bit different, with the Google comments, the newest comments are not always going to float to the top now. What's going to happen is that they're going to try to foster conversations. So the most relevant comments, based upon I don't know what, are going to be floating toward the top. Comments from the owner of the channel are going to float to the top as well. So if you notice some changes, that's what's going on. Kind of interesting. What do you think about all this?
I think about half the comments are going to be talking about how my alter ego is Gabe Newell, and the other half will be talking about...
That was like totally monopolized the comments in the last one, but they might be right. I don't know. It's like...
long lost cousin. I
don't know. Isn't he from West Virginia?
I don't know. That's a good question.
Let's figure out where he's from. Probably the same hometown.
There is sort of, I don't even know. It's just I don't even know.
Did your father have any previous girlfriends back around the time when Gabe Newell was born?
Not even going to talk about it.
Have you seen the time, Wendell?
Oh, is it Rant 30? It hasn't been Rant 30 in quite a while.
It's already Rant 30. This is going to be a fast Rant 30. And this is because the freaking lawyers at Verizon have opened their mouth. And just, what is going on with Verizon, number one? Why are they so stupid? And number two, why are they trying to destroy everything that's good? They're like the bully that comes over and jumps up and down on your flower garden. Verizon, that's who you are. Like, I'm watching you guys. And you're probably watching me, actually.
One has to wonder, if they believe their own crap or if they're just acting that way to try to create some sort of plausible alternate universe that's not actually reality.
You know, I think they want to create their own reality. So I haven't even gotten down to what they've done that's really pissed us off and decided, made us decide to do Rant 30. So here's what's happening.
Their argument started out as we think that people ought to pay extra if they're going to use a lot of the bandwidth that they already paid for to stream video. And then it turned into we think we should also be able to block websites, which was like, wait, what? That's totally different than the first thing you were arguing for.
Well, this entire thing is going toward their ultimate goal of being able to block websites that are getting a lot of traffic, and then you're saying like, calling up us and saying like, hey, you guys get a lot of hits or whatever, so if you want to be on Verizon services, please give us money, and then we'll turn you guys back on. Almost turning the internet into a cable-like service where when you get Verizon, you have this set of websites, and then you have to pay extra for Tech Syndicate or Google or whatever.
It's already going on with YouTube. I mean, the YouTube stuff is very much, especially with Time Warner, where Time Warner's been caught doing things they ought not do a few times, where they're not blocking YouTube, but they're making sure that the YouTube experience is as terrible as possible by, not having enough peering with the ISPs that carry Google, or throttling traffic so that it doesn't saturate a link or whatever, and just generally not having enough capacity where their network needs it in order to sell the service that they've sold to their customers. And then they have the disingenuous argument that, oh, well, this is clogging up our network, and it's like, well, you need to sell lower bandwidth tiers than you are because you can't sell something and then get mad when people actually use what they've been sold.
Yeah, these guys have a 10 meg connection and they're using all 10 megs of it that they're paying for. It makes no sense, guys. I mean, really.
I've got news for you.
If you get infrastructure, number one, or shut up.
If you've got a 10 meg pipe, that's enough to watch Netflix HD. And if you can't watch Netflix HD and the only thing you're doing is watching Netflix HD with a 10 meg pipe, somebody is screwing you.
It's a quick one. It's pretty much a follow-up. Let's move on. In Mississippi. Now, Mississippi, it's been the butt of a few of my jokes because the education down there is pretty bad. However, C-Spire is an internet company down there, and they want to expand with a fiber to the home initiative for gigabit internet in Mississippi. That's going to be awesome. There's their CEO, Hugh Mina. I guess I've said his name correctly. I hope so. But, he touches on something that's very interesting here. A lot of people want to, I guess, control the lines, control the fiber, but he believes that it should be classified just as regular infrastructure, like, quote, roads, like sewers. So we need more small companies like this. It seems like only the small companies are getting it right now. A lot of the big companies have no idea what's going on. You've got VTEL in Vermont. You've got now C-Spire in Mississippi. We've got Google Fiber, which that's the big company that kind of gets it. So look for more initiatives like this. And we need what we need right now. We need governments, local governments, larger governments, state governments, to start giving the grants to these companies and to the individuals on the ground so that they can, run the infrastructure themselves. And here's an idea. How would you feel about this? What if, local governments started running the infrastructure themselves, and then it's owned by the people instead of the companies? Do you think that would improve things?
Yeah, that would be really awesome. This happened with electric companies because, electric companies were really terrible at supplying electricity to rural and underfunded areas, and so the co-op was born. I would totally love to see some co-op ISPs. And that's what strikes me about this Missouri ISP. It almost does seem like a co-op.
You mean in Mississippi?
Or Mississippi, yeah.
Yeah, they've already got it out in Missouri thanks to Google, but Google is big. We need more small companies doing stuff like this because the small companies are usually very connected to a certain area of the country, and that area of the country they're going to really care about, and you start to see that. So that's really cool.
And that's where most of the complexity is in the last mile. And honestly, people that are doing the last mile are almost always better locally. Like the people in Vermont using the horses, that's totally a local solution.
Yeah, and the big companies would never think of that. The traditional way of doing that would be to get 15 guys and 2 trucks and 95 ladders.
Make a road.
Yeah.
Take out a bunch of trees.
We should blow up this mountain here so we can get our infrastructure laid. Yeah. Blackberry has been dropped by T-Mobile. I imagine they're going to be dropped by just about every other carrier. Also, they've posted a massive loss, which was like $1 billion or something like that. It's just back inventory that just could not sell. And they're laying off over 4,000 employees. So things are not going well with BlackBerry. And we've been saying this for, what, about a year now? Since our first episode almost, we've been saying this.
Unless BlackBerry could pull a rabbit out of a hat, which we predicted that they would not do, BlackBerry's been done since 2009.
We've received some hate mail about this. People are like, you guys are idiots, and here's why, and like a list of reasons why BlackBerry is not going to go away.
Well, BlackBerry does have an incredible patent portfolio, but just because they're going to become a patent troll in death doesn't make them valuable right now.
It's actually what we don't need, because they're gonna start to become desperate at one point. You know, when it's like, all right, guys, we can either start just filing tons of lawsuits for anything that even remotely smells like our patent, or we can just die. You know what they're all gonna do.
Remember what happened with SCO, Unix, and Linux? Yeah, that's totally gonna happen with BlackBerry.
That's gonna be a lot of fun. Oh God, I can't wait for that. Speaking of smartphones, the Samsung Galaxy Note 3 is going to be region locked, meaning if you take your Galaxy Note 3 that you purchased in America to another country, you're not going to be able to slip in another SIM card from that country and then, you know, be able to speak on that local network without incurring all the fees. You're going to have to use your SIM card, and it's going to be region locked to the United States or wherever you purchased it. Bottom line here is we need to send a message to Samsung that this is ridiculous. It's a step backwards. So don't buy the Galaxy Note 3 if that's what they're going to do. They need to change their mind about this immediately. Because it's an incredibly stupid business decision, number one, and it's a huge step in the wrong direction. Samsung, what are you doing? Like, I thought things were going to be kind of cool. You said
after the S3, I'm done with Samsung, so don't care.
I didn't have an S3, but you installed like a better ROM on there, and it was actually really awesome. But
yeah, with the better ROM, it's better, but the better ROM doesn't work perfectly right with the camera and some of the other stuff, and the proximity sensor gets a little weird sometimes, so it's really... I'm running CyanogenMod, which is really good, but not quite perfect.
Yeah, I've got a phone that looks just like the S3 coming from China. I was talking to a company in China, and they seem really nice, but they wanted to send over a phone, and I was like, no. And then I looked at it and I was like, man, what the hell, send it over. This is kind of ridiculous. It looks a lot like a Samsung Galaxy S3, and I'm not really a phone guy, but I'm really curious about, I hope I don't get lead poisoning.
I think you will.
Oh, God.
It's going to be bad.
Let's talk about high-frequency trading for just a minute now. High-frequency trading is, I'll just go ahead and say, it's, in my opinion, pretty much insider trading, because you don't get the knowledge like a week ahead of time or a day ahead of time. You get the knowledge like immediately, and you're able to do transactions faster than any human. So Wendell, I'll let you take it away and tell them exactly how all this works, and then we'll talk about what happened with the 7 milliseconds that have somehow been stolen from the Federal Reserve.
High frequency trading at this point is basically you write a computer program that trades based on parameters and input and high frequency trading algorithms and blah blah blah. And if you could do high frequency trading programming, you can basically set your own salary, you can make millions of dollars, blah blah blah. At this point, the high frequency trading stuff is basically robots trading with other robots. So imagine an amoral, probably poorly programmed Jarvis running on some poor language that is just trading with other Jarvises that belong to other company. It's like battle bots, but billions of dollars are at stake, and the robots don't really exist. They're pure software.
And here's what that means for like the average guy that's trading stuff. Let's say, like some information comes out, and it's going to affect the price of a stock, or it's going to affect an entire market. Well, these robots get this information before we do. Like, they get it immediately, and they're able to, conduct tons of trades before you can conduct those trades, and they effectively... if it's a big enough deal, they can buy all of the stock from one particular company, and then resell that stock at a higher price. And then the regular Joes are going to end up, that they want the stock because this information came out and it's more valuable, and so they're willing to pay a few extra cents or whatever per share. And
or
these robots
affect the global price of silver.
Oh God, we don't
as
even
the
talk
case
about
may
that.
be.
J.P. Morgan Chase did what? So anyway, the reason we're talking about this right now is 7 milliseconds were stolen from the Federal Reserve. And the Federal Reserve released some data, and it's all here in this article here. You can take a look at it. But effectively, what was the Federal Reserve data that was released? Where is it?
They changed the interest rate.
Yeah.
And the time that it takes that information to propagate from Washington, D.C. to Chicago is minimum, 7, 8 milliseconds. And that's really just taking into account the speed of light through fiber optic cable. That's not really taking into account routing overhead and other processing. And trades were executed by robot at exactly 2 o'clock p.m., not taking into account the propagation delay of light through fiber optics plus processing delays, which basically means there was insider trading.
So, but there was a study, I was taking a look at this study here. It's definitely not insider trading. So a study came out from NanoX and said that this was something was up. But thank God another study came out, obviously funded by those that the NanoX study affected, that said that the NanoX study was BS. So, yeah, it's severely flawed, they said.
Yeah, flawed or not, this is just kind of disturbing.
So this is beyond just the regular high frequency trading. So something was up there. But another thing that's interesting about this, there's really no laws that say anything about high frequency trading. We should. Why are we not writing algorithms right now? We could be making millions.
Yeah, well, you have to have millions upon millions of dollars to execute those trades with. Or at least, the ability to get millions and millions of dollars. Don't necessarily have to have that much liquid, but, it's just...
Couldn't we write like another bot to steal the millions of dollars, and then we could have one bot stealing money, like siphoning it out?
And then put it back. I think Goldman Sachs beat you to that.
Damn, those bastards are so corrupt that I can't even, by the time I dream up the idea, they've been doing it for years.
Last year we had a case of there was an investment bank that used deposit accounts to cover their investments, which is a big no-no. They said it was okay that investment banks and deposit banks coexist under the same entity, but the accounts have to be separate. But there was an investment bank that screwed something up, and they took a whole bunch of money out of the depositors' accounts to cover it, and nothing happened. No one cared. And it was except the depositors. Yeah. And it was just oh yeah, that happens. And it's no, that doesn't happen. That's terrible.
We should tie this back into technology before we scare everybody away. Now, here's what's interesting about this. Normally these high frequency transactions are done on a computer, but now they're actually going to be building this technology into the router, right into the Ethernet ports.
Yeah, there's a company that's actually putting field programmable gate arrays on the Ethernet ports in order to do these high frequency trades. They were talking about how the packets come in with data, and when the packets come in with data, they immediately start replying with packets of their reply, but they haven't actually constructed their reply yet. So the initial handshake and the welcome and the hey, we're going to get started and do a reply based on the data is sent before the decision is even made what the packets are going to contain. How crazy is that?
And it just makes big piles of money, but what it actually does is it artificially inflates prices, it screws over regular human beings.
Messes with the price of silver.
All right, let's move on.
Yeah, moving right along. That's a topic for another show.
Yeah, we wanted to get into that just a little bit because it's kind of ridiculous, and it does have to do with technology in some ways. And plus, it was.
If you guys are more interested in some of the other this is not the first time there have been anomalies like this. NanoX has produced a lot of studies about this kind of thing. There are some good articles on the NanoX website. It's nanex.net, and you can look at some other anomalies from years gone by that seems to pretty clearly show that there's a lot of insider trading going on, and no one cares.
Let's move on and talk about patent trolls. There's a lot of reform going on this time. We don't have a lot of NSA stuff to talk about. We covered most of that last week. Nothing really new this week, other than the fact that there's some reform going on there. And there's also some reform going on. House Judiciary Committee Chairman Bob Goodlatte.
There's talk of reform.
There's talk of Bob Goodlatte. He sat down with...
and his assistant, Mocha Monica.
Yeah, Mocha Monica, and his best friend, Jimmy Cappuccino.
That's Dr. Jimmy Cappuccino.
His first name's French, I believe.
French Jimmy French.
French Cappuccino for people that know him. Anyway.
It'd be funny if he married Monica. Maybe her name would be Mocha Cappuccino. Or
she would do one of those hyphenated last names, because that's what people, when you're a power person, you always keep your last name and then hyphenate it if you want to keep the other one. So it would be Monica Mocha Cappuccino. Well, we've just ruined the show. If you're still watching, we'll go on. All right.
Record lows.
Yeah, we're gonna see a huge dip in the Google analytics. In YouTube, you can see when people tune out. Everyone's just gonna tune out right there. Yeah.
Our views were definitely down last week.
So here's what's going on with Chairman Goodlatte and his reforms that are hopefully coming. So the first thing that he wants is just when someone's filing a lawsuit, he wants more specific, detailed information. Doesn't that seem like that should already be in place? Like, shouldn't a patent troll have to submit tons of detailed information when they submit their lawsuits? Because right now it's like, hey, we have the circles, we have a trademark on circles, and these guys are using circles. That's pretty much what the lawsuits are like. He also wants the fees to be shifted in, I guess, not in favor of the patent trolls. And here's the way this is going to work. If a patent troll loses, they have to pay all of the legal fees, because right now they can just go and sue people and they're not responsible for the legal fees even if they lose. It's like these companies are forced to defend themselves, and even if they win the lawsuit, they're still going to be out of pocket millions of dollars because they have to pay their lawyers. So that's really cool. And you guys can read the rest, but that's a pretty big two things that are going to dissuade a lot of patent trolls, and it's just good to see Bob Goodlatte. His name, is that really how you pronounce his name?
I think it's probably Good Lot or something like that.
Good Latte. I've decided that his name is Good Latte. So that's pretty cool. Let's do a follow-up on Google. We were talking about how a lot of the different big companies out there want Google to police the internet because Google owns all the content on the internet. Is that how they see things?
The politicians want Google to police the internet because the copyright lobby has successfully brainwashed them into believing that Google can do so.
Well, that's what's going on right now. We have British politicians right now criticizing Google for not doing enough to stop piracy, and they are blaming Google for the piracy. They've kind of forgotten about the fact that individuals are the ones uploading this stuff that have nothing to do with Google, but they're blaming Google for not doing enough.
How long until we start policing Tiananmen Square photos? How long?
About a week. All these lobbyists are in I guess Washington D.C. and they're also bothering Parliament members over in the UK and just pretty much every country. But they're telling them, hey, listen, we need to set up some system where we can press a button and then have all the piracy go away. Do you want that? Sign here and we'll give you money. And they're like, yeah, that'd be great. Let's do that. So I don't think a lot of the policymakers understand the implications of what's really going on. I don't think they really understand. I don't think they understand the issues at all. And the other thing that's funny is they're starting to criminalize IP crime.
Yeah, that's the real problem here. Google does do a lot of stuff to block stuff like child porn and stuff like that. That's good that they do that.
Well, those are all criminal activities that you can go to jail for.
Yes, exactly.
You're not supposed to be able to go to jail for downloading a song. But now they want to roll out the tanks if you download, some idiot music.
Well, and there's a lot of collateral damage when you've got blocking that broad. It's not really a fair apples to apples comparison to compare music piracy to child pornography, but that's exactly the comparison these lawmakers are making. And not only does it not work that way, that's ludicrous.
Well, we talked about this several episodes ago. David Cameron and his bright idea for basically just shutting off all websites and having a whitelist. So
yeah,
this might be just more development in the entire journey toward the internet whitelist in the UK, which is really freaking scary.
It's like, yeah, we're gonna set up major media companies to have their own websites, and that'll be how you get your stuff. You can't anybody can't set up a website. No, that's crazy. We would lose so much of what we've gained.
It'd be like the Dark Ages all over. This is like the equivalent of burning down the Library of Alexandria. It's the E equivalent.
I would much rather have, if they could come up with a way to block all copyrighted material that is, belongs to these media companies, I think that would be great. That they ought to do that.
But there's always going to be false positives in that. That's the problem. There's always false positives.
Well, in my hypothetical universe where there are no false positives, it would be perfect because the demand for all their stuff would dry up almost immediately. Because sharing is a large part of our culture, like it or not, and not having that, no one will be interested in it because no one will have it.
I owe a bit of Zweihander's success to some of the torrent websites. People threw it out there, and then I checked out some of the torrent websites, and in the comments, people were saying like, "Oh, thanks, I'm going to go and donate to their Bandcamp, or I'm going to go buy this, on their other, legitimate means." But people were discovering it through torrent websites, so. I guess I do actually owe something to that because people were sharing. They were like, I enjoy this and I want to freaking share it. All right, we mentioned NSA reform. And anyway, our good friend Ron Wyden, he's proposed lots of reforms, and some of these reforms may actually pass. That's the crazy thing right now, because we talk about this a year ago and none of this stuff would have passed. But now that everything's in the media, everything's really crazy right now, this stuff may actually pass. And here's what he wants. He wants to end bulk data collection. He wants there to be a public advocacy member in the FISA courts, and that means that we'll have someone speaking on behalf of the public, because right now the courts are very one-sided. Stuff goes into courts and it's just like the spokesman from the NSA is like, yeah, this is good, everything's good, and then there's no counter argument, so it's like, okay, well, it looks good to me. So he says we need an advocate in the freaking courts to argue our case, and he wants to make it possible to sue the NSA, because right now they're doing all this stuff, and even if they do something wrong, they're almost retroactively immune to any punishment.
We talked about that last time, because the lawyers were like, yeah, we're just going to lie and mislead, and the judges were like, you guys are completely lying and misleading repeatedly and systematically, and it's like, yeah, what are you going to do about it? And nothing happened.
There's no public advocate there to argue otherwise, so it's like, well, damn. That's the end of it. So it's pretty cool to see Ron Wyden. He's one hell of a guy. I would have voted for him, Also, in the next episode of South Park, Cartman is going to infiltrate the NSA. I just thought I'd mention that. It's going to be funny. There is a topic on our website here from Video Dude, D-E-W-D. What's up, dude? And is the NSA spying on us really that bad? And
yes, end of thread.
Well, that's what I would have said too, but I think we should have a conversation about it. If we need to have a conversation about it, there's a lot of people talking here. You mentioned there was...
Is it really that bad that Germany's making a list of all the Jews? I mean, is that really that bad?
Yeah, it's as long as they're not doing anything wrong, why are they worried about them, a list?
I really hate to invoke Goodwin, but I don't know how to...
So you guys should go in there and chime in and keep it nice. Or don't. I don't know. Let's talk about some science. We've got a lot of stuff going on with science. World record, solar cells, 44.7% efficient. We've been mentioning that solar cells are becoming more and more and more efficient, so it's really cool to see another breakthrough. Hopefully by this time next year, they're going to be 400% efficient. Hopefully. That would be nice.
That would be cool. I could see a lot of the buildings in the business district getting solar retrofit, because they're really tall, there's no shadows. Well, I guess shadows from other buildings around you, but if you're in an area where all the buildings are roughly the same height and there are no trees, solar on the roof of a building, that's a pretty good proposition.
We need solar panels and mirrors everywhere to direct the sunlight to them. That'd be cool.
Well, but we've got two things crossing one another. It's that the power efficiency of stuff is going up, so that most of the stuff that chews up electricity now is your environmental controls. It's not even computers anymore.
Yeah.
And the thing that's also going up is the amount of solar that can be produced over a given area. So given reductions in electricity requirements for all the other stuff and increases in solar production, this could be like a flash takeover kind of thing.
Oh my God, they found water on Mars. Again.
More water.
Yeah, exactly, again. So here we have the Curiosity rover, and it's taking soil samples. And here's the interesting thing. There's so much water content in the soil that we may actually be able to have a content and then extract all of the water that we need right from the freaking ground. Like dig a well and just drink all day long, just drink water.
That would be cool. We need to send those people that signed up a few weeks ago for the one-way trip to Mars.
Well, Richard Branson, he's also got some ideas for very cheap space travel. He hasn't said anything yet. He said in 4 months they're going to, release a statement about this, but he said it's going to be very cheap to travel outer space. So,
I wonder what the new technology is.
I don't know, but he always says too much. And there's a video here. If you guys watch the video at the end, they start asking him questions. He's like, "Oh, I've said too much already." And his big grin. How would you like to have a lightsaber? Would you like?
I would like to have a lightsaber very much.
Well, you can maybe do that now, because some students at Harvard and MIT, Massachusetts, freaking going crazy again with their scientists down there. They're like the Germany of the USA. Or the Finland, I believe, is the new hot spot right now. Anyway, some scientists down there, what they've been able to do is they've been able to coax photons into binding together to form molecules. So they're making molecules out of photons, therefore making a new type of matter. Because now, usually when you have two streams of light, they just cross, you know, and one goes this way, one goes that way. You take two lasers and you shoot them together, and, you know, if you do this with two lasers, they just cross one another. They don't. It's not like a lightsaber where you can hit and there's an impact or anything like that. But now with this, you could potentially make a lightsaber.
That would be cool.
Yeah, but there's a lot of other things that you can do with this as well. And you guys can go in and read the articles. There may even be some implications for the future of computing, quantum computing, and even making like crystalline type structures out of pure light. I kind of want a necklace made out of light, or a grill just made out of light. That'd be neat, wouldn't it?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I need a grill because I release albums now, so I need like bling and a grill. Maybe I can get a car made out of light.
No.
Just no.
Neutron light cycle, is that what you're getting at? No.
Yeah, not gonna happen.
No. But this could be cool. I mean, there have been some experiments, some physics experiments in the past where they got particles to behave like waves, which is cool. And this looks like more like that they're getting photons to behave more like particles, or more like atoms, in that they'll interact with one another at very low temperatures, and in certain conditions.
And form molecules. That's just crazy. Speaking of other things that are crazy, we now have a working carbon nanotube computer. Slow as hell. And here's the guy from Stanford that developed it. It's really slow, but it's interesting because it's
1995 slow. It's not 1969 slow. Right.
And I mean, it's also, 1 micron versus 22 nanometers. So 1 micron is 1,000 nanometers. It's way big. The manufacturing process is way larger as well. But this is the first step, and it's not silicon. And I don't know. What do you think this has? What do you think this has to do with Moore's law? Do you think it could possibly help us to overcome Moore's law?
Well, yeah. Right now with 22 nanometer process, we're dealing with transistors that are about 50 molecules. And as we approach like 6 nanometers, silicon ain't going to cut it anymore. Yeah. And this article talks a little bit about that, how Intel's been very circumspect about what they plan to do to replace silicon. But IBM has said for years that they think carbon's where it's at for things that have features smaller than silicon.
Well, I guess we could grow. What if we could grow a computer? That'd be neat.
That would be neat. Well, just because it's carbon-based doesn't mean that it's organic.
I bought my computer seeds today.
I'm going to grow a new video card.
Yeah, I'm going to grow me a new... actually, the new AMD graphics cards, they're actually seeds. And here they are here. AMD has announced their next generation R7 and R9 video cards. And here are the specs. I'm not going to really speculate on any of the speed or anything like that. The prices look pretty good. 512-bit memory bandwidth is going to be extremely nice. Now, this is all cool, and I kind of want one of these. I really want a 290X. I'm going to play with that severely. But what's really cool, right here, Wicked Wig over on the website, he said AMD's most interesting announcement this week, Mantle. Mantle is a new API. It's kind of like OpenGL, Direct3D, but it's really going to give you hardware-level access on a PC. Now, this is something that, we've mentioned this in the past, that's one of the major benefits of the consoles, is that you can program directly for the hardware. You've got much lower level access. With DirectX, you've got lots of middlemen and lots of latency issues. It's just not the best API at all. It's kind of ridiculous. There's an article over here on AnonTech that illustrates this pretty well. See, with DirectX 9, you've got all this overhead and before you can even get down to the hardware. And, the creator of anti-aliasing said that if he didn't have to deal with DirectX, if he had hardware level access to the GPU and the CPU, that anti-aliasing would be up to 100 times faster. So now AMD is going to, unveil Mantle, and it's going to be working, it's going to be working like very soon. Like we're talking Frostbite 3 engine.
I think the quote there was PC developers have to do less with more. And now PC developers will be able to do more with more versus console. Yeah. And this really is making the graphic subsystem as streamlined as console. Now, take this into account with some of the Steam stuff and what Gabe knows about what AMD is doing, and then all of a sudden their Steam machine stuff makes a lot more sense because they're bypassing Windows because now it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and DirectX 11 is not even used. It's used. This is used instead of DirectX 11. So we have a PC game that is not reliant upon Microsoft. You've got a much better API, and it's an open API.
The other thing here with this architecture is that it's designed for multi-core. And so even if your game isn't necessarily optimized for multi-core, the rendering part of it, if you follow the Mantle interface, it's going to scale to 8 cores and beyond.
And let's say like in a couple of years we have a 16-core CPU or something like that that comes out, the game is not going to have to be written to take advantage of that. As long as it's using the Mantle API correctly, it's going to just automatically use all 16 cores. It'll continue to scale up for as many cores as you have.
If you guys remember Glide, that was I've got a Voodoo 2 on the shelf behind me, and the Voodoo 2, Glide, that was the most amazing thing ever, and a lot of the press are picking up and saying, "Oh, this seems a lot like Glide." Yeah, we need that.
Yeah, we really need that. It's also really awesome that it's going to be open, and NVIDIA could, use this for their own GPUs as well. So, the future of gaming just got a little bit better. So, let's see here what else we have. Do we want to mention the Dolphin emulator as well?
Well, we could talk about how it's like you talk about even like OpenGL and and it's standardizing on that, and the Dolphin people talk about how difficult it's been dealing with OpenGL cross-platform and with a bunch of different drivers, and how with DirectX you don't have that problem. And so if Mantle addresses the problem that even the Dolphin developers have experienced, then we're in good shape.
Well, Dolphin 4 also came out, so I think one of the biggest problems with a lot of this is when you go to Linux and that sort of thing, the drivers are just not nearly as good. So there's a lot of problems right now, and it seems like a lot of them are going to be fixed very soon. And then we have Steam machines that were announced now-ish, and there's another announcement probably right now that we haven't seen yet because we make these videos in advance. But the third part of Steam's or Valve's announcement is happening immediately, and I'm sure we'll be talking about that in the forum. But
probably
anyway,
their controller.
What's that? Yeah, probably the controller, or Half-Life 3. But probably just the controller.
It's not Half-Life 3.
Yeah, I don't think it's Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3 is not confirmed. I repeat, not confirmed.
It can't be confirmed. Everyone's expectations are so high now that there is no game that will please anybody. And they know this, so now they can't even make it. They're like, well, damn. And they have not been trying to hype Half-Life 3. That's the problem. Anyway, let's go back and talk about the Steam box, or the Steam machines, I should say. No longer call them the Steam box. Steam machines. It's got a nice steampunk vibe to it. Anyway, here's the way this is going to work. Anybody can make a Steam machine. There's going to be lots of different flavors of Steam machines. It's not a one-size-fits-all world, they say. And that's a really interesting thing. Can you imagine if we have... Well, didn't Panasonic make a GameCube or something like that back in the day?
I don't know. It's
not gonna be like that. So I think all this stuff has been working together, and of course Steam OS is based upon Linux. And sure enough, AMD and NVIDIA have all come out and said we're going to ramp up our Linux driver support. So we've got that going on. We've got the new AMD API that looks amazing, and it's open. We're going to have better support for just about everything. And then hopefully stuff like Dolphin will be able to take advantage of that as well and not have to worry about OpenGL. It's going to be a pretty world, a beautiful world. We want you guys over here on PC with us. It's more fun.
It is more fun.
Watch that video. The new Thief game, not even out yet. But there's DLC for sale. This is where we're ending this video because I'm kind of over the whole DLC thing. It's ridiculous. I was looking at Battlefield the other day. And if you want to get Battlefield and all of the DLC, it's like $100 and something, like map packs and stuff that should be mods and should be freely available. And now we've got that's EA. So you typically avoid EA games if you don't want to have to deal with DLC that you have to buy every 2 weeks. Now we've got Square Enix and Eidos Montreal doing the same thing, selling DLC before the freaking game is even out. If you guys have created more content, why don't you just throw it in the game and make the game more valuable, make it a better game? It's just a mission right now. So they're making you buy a mission. Why don't you just put it in the game, guys? You're that greedy? Stop being so damn greedy.
I'd like to hear from the developers. I bet there's at least one developer that watches. It's like, so how did that work? Did you guys finish the game ahead of schedule? And then it's like, oh, well, let's fill the hours making the DLC. Or was it, we got to get the game done, and you team over here, you're going to work on the DLC because more money, and there was much laughing, and the people were, sitting on the backs of developers, and, that kind
Yeah, like, create the DLC, print
it's
money.
it's like, oh, we've got a meeting with the executives, and it's like, oh, that's going to be great. You go in the boardroom, and there are no chairs, and it's like, where are the chairs? And it's like, the developers are the chairs.
Just sit on the developers.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Yeah. If you're a developer for a company, you can anonymously comment on our website because you can join with any name you like. We don't force you to use your Google Plus name or your Facebook name.
And we don't annoy you with a pop-up about changing to your real identity from your channel name or whatever.
Would you like to use your real identity and your physical street address as your username? That's what we should do that now. Would you like to use your street address as your username and just right on there? Yeah. Subscribe. It's over there. Watch all our other videos because they're good. And we should be in Hawaii right now. You know that?
Oh, well, you had a note on here that Kill Your Console was live.
Is it live? Oh,
No.
It's live.
Oh, it's live by now, yeah.
It's actually right now. It's just sitting there waiting to go live because Google's not monetizing it. No, that's pretty much it.